everyone. Welcome to the Social Matters.
Round two.
Round two, yes. My name is Linda,
Adam.
and we are here today to talk about some social topics that might be a bit of a challenge for people.
Yeah, could definitely bring up some bad feelings, bad memories. So just a little bit of a heads up on that.
So today we're going to talk about self-mutilation, also known as, I guess,
Cutting,
burning, that kind of thing, and what it does to a relationship. I don't personally know anybody that has had that way of coping with things where they cut themselves, but I do know a lot of people that suffer from depression. So that's one thing that I know pretty well. But from what I've read online, self-cutting is a way of just coping with life.
A way to make you feel and
Yeah.
But it definitely has some adverse effects. It may be a coping mechanism in that moment, but a week down the line and that's the other topic we're going to be discussing, is what it does to the people around you and the family and all your friends that have to see it. And so a week down the line, when it's just a scar and people have to look at that and see that, and
that's when the guilt kicks in, and
oh yeah, big time.
You start to feel worse about yourself.
And it's, I don't know, I've known plenty of people who cut and all that kind of stuff. I've never done it, but to see it on somebody that you really love and you really care about is, I mean, it's really hard. Because what can you do? It's already happened. You don't know if it's gonna happen again. You can just try to be there, but at a certain point it seems disingenuous because oh, I saw your scar, so now I feel like I have to help you out, as opposed to them, what they might truly need is somebody who cares about them regardless.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think one of the most harmful things we can do is look at everybody as if they were the same. Like, oh, this person's depressed because of school. And, like, everybody's stressed out because of school. But, like, depression can hit for any number of reasons. And bipolar, episodes can be triggered from externally or just internally. There's just a miswiring in the brain. And so to treat everybody like, oh, this person's crazy because they're cutting or whatever, it's just, it's very damaging. And it does not help the person at all.
No. So if you were a parent and your child was doing that, and you were like, don't do that, it's shameful, and you give them a really hard time, you're basically just amplifying the situation and possibly making it worse for that child.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that, because, I mean, especially for kids and teenagers who are a lot of the people that we see, at least in the media, doing this. And it's kind of agreeable counterculturally. There's kind of a culture that's grown around it, and I think that's harmful as is, but we'll let that be. And so people have kind of accepted it as cool, but for parents to be so stringent and to be so tough on somebody that's already clearly going through issues, and to pretend to know them or pretend to know the issues that they're going on with, it's an issue that's been going on for generations and generations, right?
And I think there's this stigma that if you are like cutting or whatever, that you actually want to die. And that's a misconception. Because they don't technically want, like, that's not their end goal. They just are trying to soothe themselves in a particular way.
Yeah, the way I see it is they externalize the pain that's been internalized for however long.
That they can't deal with the actual feelings and emotions.
Exactly. It's like the catharsis of their emotional turmoil. I think another thing is that a lot of people say, they're cutting for the attention, or they just want, and that's a big parental thing where parents are like, oh, they just want attention, so they brush it off because God forbid my parenting ever be bad. But I don't think anyone really does it for attention, because 9 times out of 10, what are cutters wearing? They're wearing a long sleeve shirt. Or they're wearing, some people cut their thighs and stuff, and they're wearing pants or something to cover it up, because they don't want to. It's the same kind of way with depressed people. They don't actually want anybody else. They feel bad being like a burden on other people. and to be that emotional burden, and to have other people try to carry them, and they don't want that.
No. It's a way of feeling alive, or feeling something when you feel nothing.
Yeah, when you just feel dull, and you've lost yourself.
Exactly. So from the point of view of somebody trying to help a person in that situation, what do you think would be the way of going about it?
That is a really tough question to ask. It really depends on the person, and that's the thing I was talking about earlier. So we can't generalize like that. Not every cutter is going to be the same. So if it's one friend, I'll handle it one way, or if it's another friend, I'll handle it another way. Of course, I'm always going to say seek medical or professional help, because I am a 21-year-old college student.
You don't have all the answers.
Exactly.
Yeah, but you can be there.
But absolutely, be there for them.
And
even then, I know, like, I have a bunch of friends who have gone through, bouts of depression and stuff like that. Yeah. And, like, there are times when I can see it going on in their head, but we won't bring it up, and maybe we'll go out to, like, a beach or something, or go out on a hike, and we won't talk about it. Like, we may not even say a word, but, like, at the end of the day, drive them home, and they're, like, really grateful that they've gotten something to kind of clear their mind away from all the crap that's been going on. And to not feel kind of pity for them.
Yeah.
Like,
or
to
like
actually
obligated to have that conversation. Like, you can just be a normal person and just hang out.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
which is all everybody wants, right?
Yeah. I think that's what everybody wants. So from the other point of view, if you are a person that is partaking in self-mutilation, what would you expect from others? Would you want them to leave you alone, or take you to the clinic? Or
that's tough. I think I would, and this is just me personally, I do not speak for anybody else. I think I would want to be left alone.
Yeah.
I'm a very private person as is, and especially in my family, we have history of mental health issues and stuff like that, and we've all internalized it, and it can be damaging, of course. But there are people in my life who I know would help me out, no matter how obstinate I am about not wanting anybody to pity me or look after me.
Would you seek help? Because I think I would have a hard time actually approaching somebody and asking them to help me. But if somebody found out and then approached me and they were like, "Hey, I want to help," that would be different, right? Like, I wouldn't go out of my way to make that initial connection. I don't think, right? Because that would be hard to admit to somebody else that you're doing that, especially when there's so many stigmas that are involved in it, right?
And you're always afraid that people are like especially if you're going to somebody that you care about, that they'll never look at you the same.
No.
They're always going to look at you, and they're going to see that damaged person, and that they're going to see the scars on the arm. No matter how old the scars are, that they're fresh in their mind.
Yeah, exactly. And what I read online was that sometimes people will, just having somebody to talk to, having a social connection, will actually help them to stop on their own.
And
right?
it's interesting, actually, just the amount of, because we always hear humans are social creatures, and we really, really are. And I just wrote a paper about the solitary confinement.
Yeah. And
the biggest issue for solitary confinement is not the lack of sunlight or anything like that. It's the lack of social contact. Even with they aren't allowed to contact guards or any other prisoners or anything like that. And that is what they're prisoners in their cell, and then they also become prisoners of their own mind. Yeah. And it can be the same, and it doesn't matter how isolated you are, or if you're in a room of people. If you feel that isolation, then that's your reality.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is that there's no, like, one person may feel a certain way in one situation, and another person might feel a totally different way. And so that's why we cannot make these sweeping generalizations about certain, and that's the biggest issue facing the mental health today, is that how do we address such a number of issues that all are around the same topic? Yeah,
because there's so many diverse avenues, right?
Yeah.
Like they say you're bipolar, but then they say you're something else, and you're manic depressive. Well, then they they're actually the same thing. We're just gonna name them different.
Exactly.
Right? Or like
and there's different stigmas around different ones too. Like if you say somebody that you're manic depressive, they're gonna think that you have something seriously messed up. But if you say you have bipolar, people are more comfortable with the phrase bipolar because they don't
Yeah.
really see it as what bipolar is. They just see it as, oh, I get mood swings and
Yeah.
whatever, but it's actually a very
Yeah.
serious issue.
Because if you saw somebody, like if you busted in on somebody that was say cutting, right? Would you be like, stop that right now? Right?
I don't
What would you
like I think I'd walk in and I'd probably just freak out and be awkward and be like, okay,
Yeah.
well, I'll talk to you later, dinner's on the table,
Yeah.
you know, something
Yeah.
like that. But honestly, I'd probably just close the door, and I assume that they would stop and then come out and talk to me or something like that.
And
but we don't know.
be very sheepish about
Yeah.
it and be like, ooh.
But to just kind of talk them through it and make sure that they're getting, it's not getting infected, and try to help out in that area.
Yeah, I
And
guess
then-
that's the other issue that can happen is either not having it medically looked at if it does get infected, or having like too deep,
Yeah.
and then causing like obviously like bleeding. and
Yeah,
whatnot that
bleeding
won't
out,
stop.
losing. Yeah.
Yeah, and then that's kind of crossing that line into suicide, but not intentional. Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that I think it's a very touchy subject, which a lot of people don't want to talk about.
Yeah.
But
I think it's kind of like the eating disorders in a way.
that's so true.
Yeah, where they
'Cause it's behind closed doors. People do it on their own.
exactly, and there's stigma around both,
Yes.
and different
That's
different
so true.
end results, but
Yeah.
still has very significant effects on the body, and even when a loved one finds out that you're bulimic or
Yeah.
anorexic or anything like that, they they take it as a personal hit.
They do, yeah. Actually, depression is the same way, right? Like I know, like myself, I suffer from depression, and when I'm having a hard day and it's not due to anything, it's just how I'm actually feeling. It's hard for people around me to not take it personal.
Yeah, and it's
right?
hard. It's just hard to explain that
Yes.
to people that have never really known anybody that was depressed or anything like that.
Yeah.
That it's not just like I'm really sad today, or
No.
like this bad thing happened at work, so now I'm depressed. It's not like a trigger. It's just like I woke up today and it was a terrible day, and here I am.
Yeah.
Toughing
And no
it out.
matter how many jokes you make, and they're like, "Come on, snap out of it." That's not gonna do it.
Yeah, no, there's no magic phrase or something to
No.
get somebody out of a
I wish
depressive.
there were.
Yeah, I know, right?
That would be awesome.
Like a little hypnotist.
Yeah, hypnotist, or like you smell the roses and you're like, oh, okay,
right.
now I'm better.
Yep, it's not bad. I don't know. I feel like the female cutters that I know a lot of them they're more triggered by things, by events, by emotions, by circumstance, whatever.
Okay.
There's something big that happened that day that
Yeah.
they go home and they need to externalize and find that catharsis. Whereas the males that I know, and the girls also are a little bit less shy about it, which seems odd to me. But the men that I know that have cut, they're very much secretive. They won't even do it on their arms or anything like that for fear of anybody finding out. They just always wear jeans, and they'll have cut their legs or something like that. And it's not so much triggered by events, and it's though they just have something going on in their mind about one guy in particular, about how the world works. That was what really got to him.
Oh, okay.
And just seeing he's healed now, and he's on his way, and he's got in a much better mental state.
Yeah.
But if he was to see the election of Trump or whatever,
Yeah.
then that would kind of make him feel anxious about the way of the world, and to see that kind of hate and vileness to really manifest.
Yeah.
And that's what really got to him. It wasn't so much individual events, it was more the idea that this could happen, or
Yeah.
so he was more anxious about it.
Yeah. So more of a build up to it, right? Like he's kind of accumulating stuff throughout his week or day or whatever.
Yeah.
And that will manifest into what he does with the cutting or whatever. But for women, it'll be instant.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's what you're getting at.
Yeah.
Is that instantly, they have somebody that bitched them out at work. And, you know, they handled it well at work, they
Yep.
totally took it, and then they go home, and their way of dealing with it
And
is
coping with it, would be too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting that there's that difference.
Mm-hmm. And that's, again, it's just in my personal experience, but
Yeah.
and I just found that interesting. I couldn't tell you any, you know, real meaning behind it because I'm not a female, so I can't dive into the depths of a woman's
Mhm.
mind or anything like that.
Yeah.
But for the male perspective, I kind of understand that because I sometimes get very anxious, and I think a lot of the guys that I know that I've cut, they get anxious too, and so it's more about the control mechanism over it too.
Oh, okay.
It's like, this can't harm me because I've already taken care of it. Like, I've already gotten the pain through.
Okay.
So this, it's
like a preemptive strike.
exactly.
Okay.
Like the way, I guess the way, another way to put it would be like, guys do it to become numb, and in my experience, a lot of people do it to become numb, and other people do it because they are numb.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
kind of, it's different ways of dealing with things, and that's why, again, it's so difficult.
Yeah.
And it's difficult for any parent or for any loved one, for any brother or any sister, any best friend, any friend to look at it, and then their mind starts racing.
Yeah.
What could it have been? Could it have been a trigger today? Is this just a general issue? Is this going to be
Yeah.
recurring? And that starts weighing down on them. And then how can you talk to somebody through all of those questions when you don't understand, and it's because you've never had that same thought process.
Exactly.
So, and they know that you're not going to be able to fully understand them.
Mm-hmm.
But no matter how much you try to make an actual
connection with them, yeah. Which is why I think at that point, having professional, like you say, having a professional come in and be
Mhm.
supportive and be there for them is probably one of the best options.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the I've looked at a bunch of different kinds of like therapies, and I think something that would be pretty beneficial. I don't know how often if it's been used for cutters or anything like that, but there's a bunch of like psychosocial therapies and stuff
Yeah.
like that, where you have an actual therapist, and then as things come up, they get you can bring in people into the room and have discussions with them with a professional, like basically mediator,
Yeah.
where you get to discuss this, and you can bring in your dad, your mom, your brother, your sister, and you get to explain to them in your own terms in a healthy
Yeah.
environment that this is what it's going to be, and
Yeah.
that way the parents can't freak out and it's
Yeah.
just a phase, or
Yeah.
you're just doing this for attention,
because you know what would happen at home behind closed doors. The
Mhm.
parents would just be like, "You're whining. Stop whining about
Exactly.
stuff. Like, you're fine. Suck it up, buttercup."
Mm-hmm.
That's the
Like I got sad when I was a
Yeah.
teenager too.
Yeah, and I never did that.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah, having the mediator there would probably be a really good idea. And
Yeah.
especially doing it slowly, like having, maybe your parents at first, and
Mhm.
then after they kind of deal with it better, then
Mhm.
have your siblings come in,
Yeah.
or your like boyfriend or whoever you're dating,
Mm-hmm.
to come in and actually, have that discussion with somebody else there,
Mhm.
so things don't get out of hand.
I think that's a big thing too that we haven't really talked on, is the relationship side of it. Like, if you're seeing somebody that's doing that to themselves, and it's really hard, and I've dated people that have been cutted, and it's
Yeah.
really hard to not internalize that, like, as like, man, I must be the worst boyfriend,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
And like, and in my mind, I know that like that's not what it is. I know that it's a mental health issue,
Yeah.
but there's this part of me that's just wired, I guess, to just feel this certain way.
Empathy for them.
Yeah.
And then to feel like maybe you had said something that is triggering them to now
Mhm.
hurt themselves.
Exactly.
And you feel bad about it.
Mm-hmm. And then you start tiptoeing around, and then
Yeah.
once you start tiptoeing around, you stop being
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
And then once you stop being yourself, they feel like it's their fault, that
Yeah.
they're being distant, or they're being weird, and
Mhm.
that can trigger a whole
Mhm.
onslaught of new issues.
Yeah, and
So it's a really
probably
damaging cycle.
the relationship crumbling,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because there's not enough stability there.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's hard to, and with varying degrees of seriousness in
Mhm.
relationships too. It's like you just started seeing somebody, and they end up, you find out that they're cutting or something like that, and you're like, I we just started, you know, we've been on like 4 dates.
Yeah.
I didn't sign up for this.
Yeah.
And kind of causes them to bail out, no matter like how special that relationship could have been.
Because they think that it comes with a ton of baggage, right?
Yeah.
And there may be therapy sessions and all that kind of stuff that they would have to go through in order to help that person to get better.
Yeah.
Right?
As well as the financial burden.
Yeah. And is that something you want to sign on for when you're first
it's starting to see somebody? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the it's supposed to be the honeymoon period, and then you have this, you know, this huge weight bearing down on you. It causes a lot of people to just, you know, run.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see it for sure crumbling relationships.
Oh yeah.
Right away. Yeah. People don't want to get past that initial stage.
There are special people out there though that will care about you, and everybody has them. So just be on the lookout, because you might not know who they are now, but when you need them, they'll be there.
So true. Very good advice. So we want to hear what you have to think about these topics, and just put your comments, questions, stories, anything you want to share with us. If you're struggling with anything at all, we are here for you. We want to be with you through your times of need. So please, don't be afraid. Talk to us.
And if you don't feel comfortable leaving a comment or something like that, we do have a messaging system set up. So feel free to message us if you want it to remain private, and only, you know, we will see it, and we will help to the best of our abilities.
And we'll keep it anonymous.
Always.
Yeah, always. All right, thanks guys for watching.
Thank you. Bye.